There's always so much noise about plugins that do this and that, but sometimes we forget how much you can do with the resources we already have to hand. In this tutorial, we'll be exploring a technique using one of Live's most overlooked beat mangling features, Session View. So here's a basic one-bar groove I came up with. Each drum sound is made using Operator with some heavy distortion. Now sped up. And here's each individual drum sound. And from out of that humble drum loop, we can get something really exciting, like this. So I'm now on a fresh live set, and to demonstrate the technique, I just need a drum loop sample. You can use any drum loop from a sample pack or from the core library or one you've made yourself, and it can be any length, but we're only going to be using the first bar. So I'll drag in the sample that I just showed you using sounds I made in Operator, and I'll just change the color of the clip, and I'll rename it Loop. Now, because in my preferences audio clips are automatically warped, and this is the first audio sample I've loaded, my BPM has changed. But if I launch the clip and change the tempo back to 120 and turn on the metronome, you can hear that the sample is still in time with the metronome and its character is still largely intact. If this isn't working for you so far, note that warp mode must be on and loop must be on. I'm now going to change the warp mode from beats, which is the default mode, to complex, and I'll decrease the length down to an eighth note, so 0, 0, 2. And then I'm going to duplicate this clip with Control D or Command D, and I'll just move the position along one. And I'll do the same again, so we've got each eighth note in the loop covered. Now I'm going to select all these 8 clips and press Control D twice. So I've now got 3 different versions of each eighth note of the loop. I'll just quickly change the color of these duplicate clips. Now, with all these blue clips, I'm going to just press this reverse button here. And with these orange clips, I'm going to change the transposition. Some will be an octave higher, some will be an octave lower, and some will be 2 octaves lower. But mainly I want clips that are an octave lower, so -12 semitones. Now for some time stretching. So I'll click on clip 16 or scene 16 and I'll press Control I to insert some more scenes, and we want 8 inserted scenes. Is that 8? One more. And I'll highlight these 8 blue clips and I'll press Control D to duplicate them down. And I'll change the color. And I'll just get rid of that extra one. And I'll do the same thing for the orange clips. So I'll highlight the 8 of them and press Control D to duplicate. And then I'll just right click to change the color to something else. And now with these yellow clips, I'm going to press this ×2 button here, which will halve the speed of the clip. And I'll just switch between pressing it once and twice. So some will be half the speed and some will be a quarter of the speed. And I'll do the same thing with the turquoise clips. Now here's where the real magic happens. If I select any of the clips and then press Ctrl A to select all the clips, and then I find this L button, this brings up the launch settings. I can leave the quantization on global, and then I'll just change the global quantization to none. And then I want something different to happen after every 8th note. So I'm going to change this follow action to 0, 0, 2, which is an 8th note. And then the action is going to be other. So any other clip will start launching after an 8th note. And this 1, 0 just means there's a 100% chance that any other clip will start launching. Okay, so now if I press play on any of these clips, you'll hear some craziness. I'll just bring up the BPM. This is already sounding pretty cool, but it would be great to have some like effects randomization or pseudo randomization. So on this audio track, I'll just add a reverb, and then if I highlight this and then press Ctrl G, this puts it in a in an effect rack. So now I can rename this chain to I'll call it long reverb. And with all the effects on this effect rack, we want them to be 100% wet. And this long reverb is going to be a long reverb. So I'll just change it to like 10 seconds with a pre-delay of 25 milliseconds. And then I might have a short reverb. And yeah, you guessed it, this will be short. And I'll just change the size of that one to 500, and this one can be short, maybe just 900 milliseconds with 10 milliseconds of pre-delay. Then I'll have a simple delay, so simp del, 100% wet. Let's have 70% feedback, and link the two channels, and have so a kind of a dotted note feel, and then I'll duplicate that, simp del 2, and I'll have a really short delay, so maybe 30 milliseconds, and I'll change the feedback to 90. And then maybe I'll just have a ping pong delay. 100% wet, and I'll leave it at 3 there. And then I could have some auto pan. Change the amount, something extreme, something fast that can be heard within the span of an 8th note, so something like that. And then maybe some auto filter LFO movement. So I'll make this a low pass LFO, so I'll change the filter frequency to roughly the middle, some resonance, and then some extreme LFO movement here, so quite a fast rate. And then I'll duplicate this so we get a band pass and a high pass. So on the band pass, I'll change it to that. I'll have the 12 decibels per octave, and I'll just change the rate slightly and the amount down. With the high pass, maybe I'll have more extreme resonance, and then less movement, different LFO shape. Let's try the sample and hold. And yeah, a rate of about 6 Hertz. And then on the chain, I'll select the chain and I'll highlight all of these and drag them so that they're the full width. of the span. And then if I right click anywhere here, this distribute ranges equally will appear. So I'll select that. And then if I right click on this chain selector here, I'll select map to macro 1. Now if I move this macro, I can select any of the different parts of the chain. Now I'm going to highlight this audio effect rack and press Ctrl G, and this will put that effect rack in another chain. So with this one, I'll just have wet and dry. And then with the chain, I can just make them both the full width, and I'll right click the selector and map it to macro 1. And so when it's at 0, it will be 100% dry. And then finally, I can just, on the wet part, I can right click the chain selector and then map this to macro 2 of my master audio effect rack. So I can rename this one to dry wet, and then that's the chain selector. I'm now going to record a few bars into the arrangement. So I'll press record and then quickly launch a clip. Now, if I press this button, you'll see it gets kind of consolidated into the arrangement. And if I just highlight the chain selector, you'll see an automation lane appear for that. And now select the fixed grid 8th note and select the pencil or press B, and then you can just draw in some automation for that chain selector, which adds a bit of craziness to the music. So I'll press play now. Maybe add a limiter, some subtle compression. So that's one technique of creating some IDM, glitch, mangled rhythmic beats. And you can probably apply these techniques to all kinds of different genres. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, bye.